Alright, so you've probably heard about the male loneliness epidemic. Men are dropping out of the workforce and society and largely just giving up on life. So today we're going to talk about that, what the message is being spread to young men, the statistics, because statistics don't lie, and then what to do about this situation. So starting with what you hear about this male loneliness epidemic. Well, in the media, they talk about how there are lonely men everywhere. They are not participating in work, not participating in sports, society, in social interactions, and they're just staying in their parents' basement. Okay, so basically they're saying somewhere around 80% of men are just not even dating, giving up, stopping any sort of engagement where they put themselves out there. So, that goes along the lines with men are struggling to date and have sex and all of these things. And so there is statistics online that talk about how 80% of men have basically given up on dating. They don't talk to women, they don't interact with women, they don't try on in person to go up and speak to women, they don't go online and on Tinder and Hinge and try to swipe because they don't feel like the juice is worth the squeeze. And so they blame dating apps, women, and toxic masculinity. Everyone talks about this online in the mainstream media and news, and these things are to blame, with dating apps being so ubiquitous that anyone can always find someone better. The grass is always greener on the other side. People blame women, people blame men, a lot of confusion there, and then toxic masculinity, saying men are too toxic. They don't like that men have a hardwired driven kind of drive to compete and go up the social ladder, and it's toxic and overbearing, and the patriarchy is bad and all of these things. So something else you hear is everywhere online, people gravitate towards the victim mindset, right? Woe is me, I am oppressed, I can't do anything because this person or this group of people or this idea is keeping me down. And that eliminates sort of your even drive to try anything because, well, I'm a victim and I can't even get ahead because the game is rigged, the economy is terrible, women are terrible, this is terrible, that, right? So the victim mindset goes for basically everything in life. Is just excuses, right? Having excuses for basically setting up a roadblock in your head to where you don't even want to try because, if you can't in your mind, then you won't even try. So something else that you hear about this male loneliness epidemic is the media and propaganda keeping men weak and distracted. So, being strong, lifting weights, trying to compete in the workforce, voicing your opinions and standards, right? That all of that is basically telling men to behave more feminine, and that's completely backwards with all of society, right? For the entire history of civilization, and natural gender roles. Okay, so with all of what you hear constantly being pelted at you in the media and social media and mainstream and all these things, here are some of the harsh truths for why men feel alone. And the biggest one nowadays is digital escape from reality. So video games, porn, social media, we have at our fingertips, right? And in our hand, we have a device that can distract us from real life by just opening up, social media, porn, video games, and escaping into this digital landscape, which is not reality, right? So we have unlimited amounts of social media to consume on any topic, and nowadays with short form content, you don't even really pick what you want to watch. You just mindlessly scroll and you absorb whatever's put in front of you, right? And the algorithm does its thing. It tests your watch time on page, and how long you are on these things, and engagement and comment, and they feed you more of that. And that tends to be more negative based, right? What they found out in the media, and myself almost a decade of marketing experience, is that negativity sells and gets pushed and focused on the most, right? When we hear about collapse, epidemic, any of these horrible warnings, people gravitate towards that more naturally than things are good, things are great, have never been better, right? People don't want to hear that as much. They want to hear about why they can keep their victim mindset. And so with social media, that is always being fed at you, pushed towards you, and you absorb that, whether you believe it or not, subconsciously. If you read in the news that men are no longer needed, they're disadvantaged, and you shouldn't even try, then subconsciously you're going to start to believe that. The same kind of things happen with video games. Video games and porn are just more vices. I would put social media in that category too. Video games obviously kind of push towards men's natural desire to achieve, to compete, and win, right? We get instant feedback in video games, and I played video games for the longest time, just all day, every day when I had nothing better to do, right? Because I could see high scores, I could see progress, I could get the next item, right? And all of this feels like a synthetic achievement or a trophy, but then when you close the game, you realize deep down that you did nothing. You achieved nothing, but it still feels good because you can measure it, because it feels like progress, okay? It's not a bad thing to occasionally play games and keep your motor skills, quick reaction time and all of that, but if you're spending hours every day, that's time you'll never get back. It's wasted and you get nothing out of it, right? Porn is something similar, right? So it's a quick dopamine hit. It can be a huge time sink where, instead of working on yourself, then you're just jerking your meat 3 times a day to, AI, porn, whatever the fuck, hentai, So porn is a similar category, waste of time, scrambles your brain, lowers your drive, so you completely feel drained after you jerk your shit, right? And it's a horrible trap to get stuck in doing this all day, every day, or too much, right? So a couple other harsh truths about why men feel alone on top of the digital escape would be fear of rejection, okay? So this is kind of natural when you don't feel worthy and you don't have the experience. Fear of rejection would include just complete avoidance or isolation. So if you ever try to go up to a girl and introduce yourself and basically be like, hey, I like you, and then she's like, ew, fuck off, pig, or whatever, right? Then you're just going to feel like, oh yeah, I just put myself out there and I just got rejected. I don't like that feeling, right? So you have 2 options for response from this type of thing, and that doesn't just go for approaching women. It could be fear of rejection of trying to get a job, right? Putting 10,000 applications on LinkedIn, or any other type of competitive environment where you don't want to be rejected. And so either you can learn, improve, and try again, or you go into an avoidance and isolation type of situation. Okay, so with the Me Too movement a number of years ago, women coming out and saying, hey, I was assaulted by this guy and that guy, it started to freak out a lot of guys, being like, oh wow, so maybe if I do approach a woman and she seems like she's genuinely interested and something happens, she might change her mind and turn around and then try and fry me in the legal courts or anything like that. So fear of rejection is a mental state of mind, and this is also a big part about why men are feeling this loneliness type of epidemic. So something else, a harsh truth, with why men feel alone would be no purpose or no mission, right? So if you're just floating around in the ether, online, on social media, just moping around, have no direction in life, then you're going to feel alone, right? You don't feel any sense of community, any sense of purpose, any sense of belonging anywhere. And so with no purpose, that basically means you have no mission, and men are hardwired to want to drive and strive towards a goal and build themselves into something better, okay? So drifting without goals is the end state of that. And then when you have, there's a quote out there, I don't remember who it's by, but it's basically says, a man with no mission distracts himself with pleasure, basically endlessly, right? So you fill the void with some of these digital escapes, right? Maybe drugs, maybe other bad things that are destructive but feel good in the moment, and then you start drifting without goals, okay? So the harshest truth of all for men is that being average makes you invisible. So if we have a spectrum, right, the top 1% of guy over here, the bottom 100th% of guy over here, if you're in the middle and you're 50%, you don't get an average woman to match with you, right? And you don't get average results. You get hardly anything, right? The data shows that, the top 10% of guys, 20% of guys get 80% of the women, right? They make all the money, they have all the experience, the resources, all the connections and all of that. And so being average makes you invisible. And so that just perpetuates this kind of a loneliness epidemic where even average isn't good enough like it used to be, okay? So the stats, right? So the modern male reality. This is all nice to talk about, but what do the statistics actually say about these things? Well, starting with college enrollment, this has been a growing trend where 60% of women are in colleges and attending, and it's now 40% of men. So this has gone completely flipped, where it used to be highly male dominated in the education space, right? And now it's female dominated. So there are more women who are enrolling, there are more women who are graduating from universities and getting their bachelor's, master's, PhD than men, okay? The male dropout rates out of all men who attend college, roughly 40 to 45% never finish their degree, okay? So men aren't enrolling in higher education as much. Men aren't completing their education as much. And there's even a statistic I read yesterday where it shows that men employment rate or unemployment rate for those with college degrees versus those without college degrees is essentially the same. And actually, men with college degrees are seeing an uptick in unemployment. And it's basically matched. Like, it almost doesn't matter now if you're a man with a degree or not. And there's a reason down here that we'll talk about. So with employment, men under 30, 1 in 3 men are not working full time. Okay, so that's a third of all men under 30 do not have a full time job, right? And with that, you don't make as much money, you don't have as many resources, you don't have as many options. So with employment, it's showing a pretty significant portion of men under 30 just don't have a full-time job now. Now, they might have other engagements, they might have school, right? But not as much as they used to. And so with home ownership rates, so some of the statistics around home ownership is the average age of a home buyer is now 56 years old, okay? This has been a trend since the 50s, 60s, where the age has only increased. It used to be late 20s, and it has only gone up with inflation, with interest rates and all these things. And so this is the average age of any home buyer in the U.S. On the other hand, male first-time home buyers is now age 33. This has also gone up. This is an average over time. So men take longer and longer to acquire resources. They have to wait longer in order to own property. So women, on the other hand, female first-time home buyers, the average age is 31. Okay, if you notice, women are buying homes on average for their first time at a younger age than men. Okay, and some of this reason would be with some of the employment statistics. Women are twice as likely to be considered for a job than men. When any application is put out, over 2 times likely that a woman will be hired over a man. Okay, and so it's harder for men. They are discriminated in the workplace in a lot of cases, and so this shows that it's getting harder. The statistics show that it's taking longer. And it's getting harder to acquire resources. Okay, for marriage rates, this is another big one. 6.1 marriages per 1,000 people. So obviously of age 18 or older, only 6.1 marriages per 1,000 people. This is a record low, and it only keeps decreasing. So this is an alarm, right, where people aren't getting along, there's something wrong, some disconnection, society doesn't seem as valuable, see this as valuable. Men are worried about, signing a piece of paper and having to commit forever and be blamed and even punished if something goes wrong, whether it's the woman wants to get divorced or the man. Men will lose half their shit, and so this number keeps decreasing. And behind the marriage statistics, we see that the male average age of being married is 30, which has steadily gone up. I believe this is for first-time marriage, okay, not including second, third, etc. And then female average age is 28. Both of these have gone up. People used to get married younger, have more children earlier, and now people are, because of financial reasons, social reasons, all these other reasons, people are delaying these things. Okay, so another sobering statistic here is 25% of men are projected never to marry. Virtually everybody got married back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, right? And then this is showing that, and this is probably a low statistic. I would bet there'd be higher. It could be closer to 30, 40, even 50%, showing that there's a disconnect, right? Something's going on here. So, very negative type of sentiment between what you hear, the harsh truth, and the statistics. But there are benefits, there are things you can do about all these things, because once you're aware, you can address kind of these issues. And so what to do, the solution, okay? Well, number one, you have to realize that especially in this hyper-competitive, globalized type of market that we're now dealing with, you need to relentlessly pursue self-improvement, okay? As men, this is the way to win, right? We aren't born with innate value like women as much, okay? We have to build our value, build our physical bodies, build our mental capacity, build our financial resources, and build our social abilities, okay? So with self-improvement, if you keep this at the top of your mind, you're not chasing women, you're not complaining and feeling this victim mindset, and you're going to say, okay, well, this is how it is, let's do something about it. You would start to pursue the gym, start participating in sports, especially martial arts. So I have been training martial arts for 7 years. I'm a jiu-jitsu brown belt, and this is one of the biggest things that has really helped me with self-confidence, with building a group of like-minded individuals and helping me out overall in life. And so some of these things are very important, especially for men who have nothing else going for them. Get strong, get in the gym, right? Lifting weights at least 3 times a week, because physical strength translates over to mental strength. On top of that, you're going to want to discover your purpose. Okay, this is not something you just stumble upon. You need to develop it. You need to try things. You need to research. You need to read. You need to look for role models. All of these things will help you discover what you want out of life. So that could be building a career, building a business, building your own home, right? A lot of things. And so with discovering your purpose, you want to be able to have mission-driven goals. So if you actually have a notebook and you write down your goals, you're more likely to achieve them if you actually know what direction to go. So setting smart goals, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and setting a timeline is going to help with these things, not just, I want to be a millionaire one day, right? And so expanding your social circle, stop seeking female validation, look for your validation internally, and build yourself up and feel good about yourself just because of what you have accomplished really, really helps. And at the end of the day, you need to be extremely selfish. Click the video appearing on your screen, and I'll see you in that next one.